And keep in mind that within this appeal system, there is no ending. There is no one final decision that you are stuck with and cannot do anything else with.
So there's 3 different lanes at the board that you can select when you file your appeal. The direct review lane, which is typically going to give you a decision much sooner because just like the higher level review lane, it's submission to the board and you're not putting any additional evidence into the file. So the entire file can go to the judge, they can review it and then issue a decision at that point. The other one is the evidence submission docket. With that one, you can submit your board appeal. You have 90 days from the day that you submit your board appeal to submit any additional evidence for that judge to review. And then the evidentiary window closes at that point, and then you would be waiting for a judge to issue a decision. Now, the lane that takes the longest is definitely the hearing lane docket. A lot of veterans want the opportunity to go in and get a hearing in front of a judge. Those are going to take years, several years, because there are so many people that are wanting that option. It requires the judge to set a hearing. You go to the hearing, and then that judge doesn't make a decision right away because the rules at the board, at that point, you are allowed to submit evidence for another 90 days, and then the docket will close and it would be transferred to a judge for a decision, but that could still take years. Another thing that a lot of veterans don't know is when you request a hearing before a judge at the board, the person that you have a hearing with actually isn't the person that might be making the ultimate decision on your claim. And so you're going to a hearing to have a hearing with someone who may not even decide your claim. And so really, think about whether or not all that extra time and waiting is worth the hearing.
Right. That's why we often don't select the hearing lane for that reason. You can submit all of your evidence in writing, and we have found that it's just as effective, if not more effective, because you don't have that extra wait time to wait for the hearing to occur.
Yeah, and even into the evidence lane docket, I know something that we like to do is instead of filing, even if we know that the claim will be denied because it's something that the board will need to decide, submitting that evidence at the regional office into the supplemental claim lane, just that it gets in there. We may get a denial, but then take it up to the board under the direct review lane, just so that the wait time isn't going to be as long.
Yeah. And just so that you all know, we were initially given wait times when this new appeal system took place in 2019. Originally, we were told that the direct review lane was going to have decisions issued within 365 days. So their goal was to have decisions within a year of the time that you filed the appeal. But that is not what we have seen. And again, we've been told they're not making any decisions yet. So there are a lot of decisions that have been waiting 2 years, going on 3 years, and that's supposedly in the fastest lane, the direct review lane. So that's why BVA cases are just at a standstill right now. So if you're going to file to the BVA, like Ursula said, we would still suggest the direct review lane because that's still supposed to be the fastest lane. But that's assuming they start making decisions because, again, right now there's no movement at the board.
Yeah, and one thing that has been kind of a point of frustration with some people is even when you go to the board and you wait for such a long time, if there's anything that the board feels that they need more evidence, something wasn't developed completely, sometimes they'll just send it back down to the regional office. So you've waited up at the board for such a long time just for them to send it back down to the regional office for additional development, and it may start that cycle all over again. So it is important to make sure that before you get to the board or you put your claim in front of the board that you have done everything that you can and all the evidence has been developed, so that way when you get a decision, you're actually getting a decision on the merits of your claim and not a decision on whether or not enough evidence was in the file to decide that claim.
And keep in mind that within this appeal system, there is no ending. There is no one final decision that you are stuck with and cannot do anything else with. Even if it is a board decision, you have two options. The first is to appeal up to the Court of Veterans Appeals within 120 days of the board decision. But that's if there is an error in the law, in the way that the judge applied the law. If you have a legal argument to make, that can go up to the court. When you get a decision from the board, the other option that you have is to file a supplemental claim within 1 year of that BVA decision date. So that's through the VA Form 0995, like we mentioned before, and you just have to make sure that you have new and relevant evidence that you submit with it. And you as long as it's within that 1 year, you still keep your claim going, so you still are preserving your original effective date, and you can just stay in the system until you get the result that you're looking for.
Yeah, and that's really important to know. And that's one of the really good differences with this new system is that before, when you got a board decision, if you didn't take it to the court or the appeals court, that claim's effective date was over. The claim ended. And if you wanted to file a new claim, your effective date became the filing of that new claim